You're listening to the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this 107th episode of the Post-Apocalyptic Media Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, senior editor here at Post-Apocalyptic Media. And today, I am joined by the winner of our short story contest that we had for 2022. We announced it earlier this year, Mr. Stephen James. How you doing?
Oh, welcome. Welcome. I'm welcome. Hello, how are you? You okay?
Yes, I'm doing quite well. We've been trying to do this for a while, but I'm really happy to have, to do it now because it seems like we have so much more to talk about. Back in January when we announced you as the winner for the short story contest, I wasn't working on a new anthology yet, for the site. It's an anthology for the site and for me. I did one last year called Through the Aftermath. This year it's going to be called Through the Remains, that's an exclusive, folks, right there. You got the first name.
Yeah. That's all your previous winners, right? That put into one. Wow.
Yeah. So last year we had a couple winners in there, but we also had a kind of a mix. But this year it's all going to be the first, second, third place, honorable mentions, and things like that of just the contest winners. And it's all listed. Yeah, it's all listed on the site. If you go to postapocalyptic.com, and there's a big graphic right in the center that says announcing the post-apocalyptic short story writing contest winners. If you click on that, it'll show all the winners, like a list of the winners, and there's Stephen right up at the top, and then it actually has his story in there. It has the top 3 stories on that article. So if you want to read that ahead of time, before the anthology comes out, you can do that.
Spoilers, yeah.
Yeah, spoilers. And I just wanted to get you on the show and kind of just pick your brain and talk about, your inspirations and all that. So I guess the first thing I want to know is tell me inspiration for the story itself, because I love the story. I think it's really great. And you could even tell a little bit about what the story is, like a general synopsis of it, because it's already on the site.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. My first thought for it to come into place was I don't think post-apocalyptic media is sad enough, and I was like, maybe we can take it somewhere beyond the tradition of the lonesome hero, the man with a beard and a dog, and going in across the wasteland. It's very like Fallout, eccentric thing. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting to have like a story about people with their teeth falling out and they've got tummy aches, and like if that more dangerous, not so much thought of painful side of existence in the apocalypse to really kind of like put anyone off wanting to be involved in it. And then it kind of came from within my family that we've had sort of dementia that's come through it, and dementia is actually very, very sad to me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, actually, would it somewhat be how could you apply dementia in a positive sense? And it kind of, as fucked up as that sounds, that's kind of where it came from. And I thought, in the apocalypse, having no idea what's going on, because the story, is her orderly. It is a story about a woman, Martha, who she suffers from dementia, and she doesn't realize that she's in the apocalypse, and her orderly is caring for her and constantly covering up all the the things that happen on outside for her and protecting her and keeping her safe. But obviously time is slowly running out. So it kind of sort of came from that kind of thing. It was very, very sad to write, but I enjoyed it, but I also did not enjoy it at all. But
I think I have dementia in my family as well, and I think that it's I think a lot of people have to deal with that, once their parents and grandparents get to that point. So I think that might be another selling point, where it's a very powerful story as far as tugs at the heartstrings, and also the twist at the end, which maybe we shouldn't give that away because it's good.
Well, no,
it's good, and so it's one of those things that I don't know, like you said, you can relate to it. it also is more than the usual, post-apocalyptic. What I like too is, like you mentioned, Martha has dementia during the apocalypse. She's being taken care of by her orderly during the apocalypse, and it's not just like they're in a sealed off room where there's no access to anything. I mean, they are kind of at first, but they have to face post-apocalyptic stuff, raiders and things like that, so it's yeah, so that brings a really cool, exciting element to it, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So this actually comes. So I've written about 11 of these stories.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got my own. I've got my own anthology, but also I've not published anything with it. So no, I'm not going to take away from that. But these stories all fall into one large story arc. It tells like a huge. You can read them, in any order, but they all kind of tell like a different story, but they all connect to each other. Because there's a story I think later on that I've got where the boy in the story that she meets, there's a story about him when he's grown up, and for example, in when he's grown up, he's got the gun that the orderly loses.
Oh,
So there's like all these little things where they connect, and this actually, this is the earliest story I believe in the timeline, because the timeline goes about 120 something years. And this is, I think, one of the earliest ones in there. And cause I remember conceptualizing the slavers that they're trying to avoid in the town. And basically, they were people that were trying to rebuild the world in the image of the way it was before. They want more structure. They need community, democracy, so on and so on. But obviously, because it's the apocalypse, no one really wants to chip in with that, because everyone's trying to survive and not get killed and assaulted or robbed. So no one really wants to help them do it. And so eventually these guys think, well, okay, well, maybe we'll just make them help us, because we need the help to start society again. And what starts off as a genuine mission to make things better, they end up enslaving people to do it because no one wants to help them. And then eventually all the people that did originally have the good intentions are just killed off by the people that joined because they want to have slaves and be bricks. And,
Wow.
they became what they are now, and they are just a roaming, group of monsters. Just
That is so cool. I am a sucker for origin stories. I'm a sucker for like branching, spin-off stories. This sounds really exciting.
Oh yeah.
That's really
I
cool.
tell you what, mate. I'm not doing anything with it at the minute. I mean, I can send it to you if you personally would like to read it. Because winning this competition, I've never won anything like this in my entire life. I can't thank you enough how much this means to me. So if you want, I can send you it. You can just read the whole thing, just between me and you.
Yeah, I'd love that. That would be great.
I think you'd really enjoy it, man. I think it'd be
Yeah.
right up your street. You
Well,
like
it's-
post-apocalyptic media, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that. I'm doing something very similar because I'm a big fan of that, where I wrote a short story that was in Through the Aftermath, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm writing short story spin-offs, basically, of different people in the same city, and like you said, that spanning that 100+ years. Wow, this is like news to me. It's so exciting. I'm really loving this.
No, I'm glad. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to write. Gets a bit sci-fi as well at one point, which I wasn't sure if I was going to do, and then I was like, nah, go on.
Yeah,
Sci-fi
might as well.
Why not? Just do it. Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
Well, okay. So, what about your inspirations as far as like movies and books and TV shows, things like that?
oh man, yeah. So I mean, the main inspiration kind of came from, like I said, Fallout. I love the Fallout games, particularly New Vegas. I think it's one of the best written Fallout games there is.
Yeah.
It's quirky, funny, and I was like, I love the humor and stuff in it. Also, I like the more survival aspects of it. The drinking, eating, blah blah blah. And it got me thinking about the mundane side of it, and I was like, oh, let's do a mundane apocalypse series. And then at some point, I'd read The Road, and I was just absolutely. This was exactly what I was trying to accomplish with McCarthy's very like stark and immediate prose. His just the pacing was horrifyingly fast, and it was so disturbing in points, and it was just a huge inspiration. I absolutely love that book. I think Blood Meridian sort of helps as well, because albeit not an apocalyptic story, it does kind of feel like a journey through an apocalyptic wasteland, and these people that you follow in the lanterns.
Yeah.
Are just awful. They are. He's just the worst people you can imagine. So that was quite inspirational as well. And also, it was a book. I can't remember who it's by, and it's called The Old Man and the Wasteland, and that was the really
Hmm.
biggest inspiration. And I remember it. Oh, I can't remember the author's name. That's so annoying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Remember he had this really cool thing in it where because it was like a very modern apocalypse, and I just remember he had the people that they're all scared of were called the Horde, and they were called that because the people that called them the Horde used to be World of Warcraft players before the world ended.
Oh
And I was
wow.
just like, yeah. And it's the first sort of contemporary thing I'd sort of read that was, apocalyptic, and I was like, but this was quite a few years ago now. And I think it's a series, but it was very very good.
Wow.
Um, and I'm trying to think film wise. God, I mean, The Road, the film, obviously is really good.
Yeah.
Recently just finished. I saw you, watching The Last of Us. I think that is an absolutely phenomenal TV
Yeah.
series. Just there's nothing compares to it. I think in that sense. I mean, I tried The Walking Dead for a couple of seasons and then sort of fell away as the story did, and I didn't really get back into it. But
Yeah.
I mean, The Last of Us was fantastic as well as the video game. I mean, there's lots of inspirations. I could go on for days, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's funny. We do have we're a little spoiled in that way where we have lots of great stuff coming out, and like you said, The Last of Us is now the new standard. It seems like it's the new thing where,
The gold standard, yeah. Wow.
yeah. So Walking Dead, they're done. But if they were to keep going, they would have to step it up, to keep up with stuff like the Last of Us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I never played the games because I never owned a PlayStation, but I love the show, and I think coming from that perspective of it being, never playing the games, is
Hmm.
a lot of people ask me, people who play the games, they're like, what is it like to watch that without knowing the games? And I said, it's just like a new thing. It's just
It must have been
incredible. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah,
yeah,
wow. I mean, there's so many things that weren't in the game, which I think the show did really well. Which it's at the beginning of some episodes where it'd have those small flashbacks, into the time before the apocalypse, which obviously the game doesn't do. But I suppose the game does that in the sense where you recover items and you pick up newspaper clippings, and obviously they can't do it in that TV
yeah,
show. And I think those parts of the TV show were some of my favourite. The severity of the woman, being brought in as an expert. What do we do? And she says the line that she says, and it's just wow. Yeah, I couldn't believe how good that was. Great delivery.
yeah,
Very good.
yeah. I think some of it was also done. I don't know if you played like the DLC, but I know that
I
they.
did, yeah,
Oh,
left
okay.
behind.
I heard, and I didn't play it, but I've heard that some of the episodes that flash back are from the DLCs. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, so the Left Behind DLC was, yeah, I think I can't remember what episode that was, but that was definitely did that, and they
Yeah,
changed like something small about it. But no, I mean, other than that, I think actually in connection to that episode, I can't remember if it was in the same episode where it's her mum, but I think that was a planned DLC that they never released, where
oh,
you take Ellie's mum's journey, but then I don't think they ever did anything with it, so they kind of left it in the on the cutting room floor. But then when the TV show came, I think Neil Druckmann was like, "Let's incorporate this
yeah,
uh, from the game that we never did," and yeah, so they did, and it was brilliant to see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, cool. Yeah, I'm also a huge Fallout fan. Since I don't know how old you are, but I've played.
oh,
Back
I'm
when.
33.
Okay, so I'm considerably older than you. I'm 47, and and so I played like Wasteland back in the 80s, and then when Fallout 1 came out, Fallout 2, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. I remember looking at the box for Fallout 1, and the back they had the image of the old lady on there, and I was just like, this is incredible. How do they have these kinds of graphics on a computer game? And that was
The future.
yeah, yeah. And then they changed it quite a bit with 3. I still loved it. A lot of people didn't like the new perspective and all. I loved it. I just everything
Yeah,
Fallout
I
4.
think it was.
Love Fallout 4. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people shit on Fallout 4, and I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. Like, I think like story-wise and narrative, even the writing between characters, companions, I think is some of the weakest. But the actual the gameplay loop, the actual exploration, the world building, the things you find, the stories you find. I remember finding that hatch where the father had got his family down to protect them,
Yeah.
hadn't ventilated it properly, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you find that story, that to me is way more fascinating than any story they're trying to tell about, synthetics or whatever. I think Fallout 4 got an unfair rap. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people shat on it, and I was like, come on.
Yeah, the settlement
Great,
building
still
to
great.
me, just setting up. Well, actually, I downloaded some mods to kind of
Oh,
enhance the
sure, yeah.
settlement building, but they had the one where you can make your companions run the settlement. Oh, I love that. I can play an entire game like that, just just running settlements. So yeah, I love that
Yeah.
game. But yeah, there's been so much in recent years that's really, I think it helps writers especially to, to be able to imagine and better imagine these stories and kind of flesh out these things we have in our heads, to get them down on paper. And I think it works out really well. You know,
Sure, definitely.
the stories that were for this short story contest, there were actually, I think, over 210 somewhere on there, stories to go
Oh,
through.
wow.
Yeah, there were a lot. Like the year before, we didn't have quite that many, and so this was a great year for it. Now, reading 210 stories is, that's a couple
You
novels.
okay?
Yeah, it's a couple novels. I mean, it was great though. It's all really high quality stuff, and that was great. And so I think even to get the best of that, like for this anthology coming up, I think there are, at this moment there are 28 stories that will be in this anthology, which this is the biggest anthology I've made, and so it'll be huge. It'll be probably, I don't know, 600 pages, 500 pages, somewhere around there. It'll be pretty
Oh
big.
man, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be pretty big, and it'll be something where there's a little bit of something for everyone. I feel like in Through the Aftermath last year, there were some stories that I was taking some chances, and it's funny because the reviews I've been getting, a lot of them will say, well, this story I didn't like, so I'm going to give this a 3-star, the entire book, and it's a little,
Jesus,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So I've run into a lot of that, and I feel like this year, this anthology is a lot more consistent as far as like genuine post-apocalyptic stuff that happens. The ones I've chosen for the book are kind of ones that you would expect in the genre. But at the same time, I feel like you can stretch that a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be Mad Max or Fallout. And so I like that. So it does stretch quite a bit outside of that. It's just, I don't know. I never understood the thing about where people don't like one story and they leave a bad review. It's like,
I guess they can't. Yeah, they struggle to have a quick review method
Yeah.
of reviewing an anthology. And they're like, well, this one was rubbish, so 2
Yeah.
stars. You're like, are you joking? Like, just leave a comment, right? Give it 4 or 5 stars, then leave a comment and say you didn't like one. Like,
Yeah.
that's also valid.
Yeah. That's the drawback, I think, of anthologies is,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a whole thing I could get into, but but I'm excited about it personally, because I love putting these things together. I'm one of those weird people who likes editing. Most most
Wow.
writers,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, most writers are like, I love writing, except I just hate editing. I love editing. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. No, good for you. I mean, someone's got to. So.
It's true. But yeah, I'm excited about putting this together. And so you said that with all these other stories you have, do you have plans to put those together, and try to get it published, or?
Yeah. So I've put them. Yeah, so I worked for a long time. I think, like I said, I think there's 11 or 12 of them. They vary from about 2,000 to 7,000 words. It depends on. I think the longest is like 8,000 maybe. But it was really hard to figure out an order to put them in. I was like, do I put them in chronological order? Do I put them in order of reveal? Because there's one overarching story, and that is the story of this guy Oz and his effect on the wasteland. It's kind of a battle between him and someone called the Savage, who is this woman who just relentlessly hunts him across the entire wasteland for whatever reason. She just does not stop. She burns everything in her path to get to him, and I think it's just about them. So do I put it in the order of them meeting or whatever? And I ended up getting an order. I've put it in order now. I've done a couple of edits on it, but I think the last edit I did was to edit her orderly for you, which is probably the best version I've got of it. And then the other ones actually haven't been touched in years, because I always intended to get an agent and then have that as like because I'm working on a novel at the minute. Well, I'm working on a sequel now. I've got the novel done, but I'm working on something so I can get an agent, and then once I've got that, I can pull out the Apocalypse one and be like, hey, I've also got this. We can just throw out, ready to go.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. Maybe I should just put it out and publish it for fun, because it was a lot of fun to do. But I don't know. It's up in the air what I'm gonna do with it. But it was a lot of good fun to write. But we'll have to see.
That's cool. I didn't even think about the fact that there's a bigger story that doesn't really involve kind of the main characters of this one. And you said Her Orderly was your first one you wrote?
Yes, well, it's the first chronologically. I think the first one I wrote was, I think it's just called Oz and the Wasteland.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a kind of homage to The Road and The Old Man in the Wasteland. It's a father and son trekking across the apocalypse and trying to get somewhere, basically, long and short of it. But yeah, that was the first one, and then Her Orderly was like, I think it's the third one I wrote. Because when my nan was like very ill, and I was just seeing a lot of things like with her, and I was like, well, God, okay, how do I put these emotions in? And it kind of just sort of came from there, really.
Yeah. Have you read any of the other stories, the top 3 that we had in that post?
No, I don't. No, I didn't. No,
Okay.
Because I thought I'd read the second place one, but then I was like, no, I didn't know. No, I didn't.
So the third place one is called She and E by Wendy Kaminsky, and I really like it. It's again, I won't spoil the plot twist at the end, but it's kind of it's this woman with her again, I'm trying to figure a way to not spoil it, but she has a child with her, and
okay, sure.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like you said with The Road, and what was that movie, Cargo? Did you ever see Cargo?
Yes, with what's his face from The Office?
Yeah, I know him as Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Him as well. Yeah, that was based off a short film, right? The short film.
Yeah. It's really, but it's very much like that, where she's escorting this small child through the wasteland, and that's another one. As a father, I that strikes me also, because it's one of those things that you read and you say, what would I do? In that situation, where you're like, think of all the dangers, and the story doesn't get too much into it. It's kind of more focused on the child itself, but I don't know. I love stories like that. There are some stories in this anthology, and I list all of the people in this article, all the let's see, honorable mentions and runners up. I list all of them, so pretty much all of them are going to be in the anthology. But there's some some stories that are more like sci-fi, more like space sci-fi kind of thing. There are ones that are a little more, I don't even know how to describe them, that just kind of like more off the beaten path. But I think people are really going to like this. I don't want to turn this into a commercial for the book.
I mean, go right ahead. Like, it sounds so exciting. Like, go for it.
It's just like I'm at this point right now where I'm reading through every one of them, and I'm doing the copy editing, and so I'm rereading a lot of these that I haven't read since last probably November, December. And so I'm reading through them, and I'm like, wow, I remember this one. This is a really great story. And I'll tell you what, maybe this isn't something I should tell the winner of this contest, but I'm going to do it anyway. It was hard picking the best. You know what I mean? There were so many of them that could have been up in that top 10. It was just, I mean, I guess it's like that with a lot of these things, but it comes down to very minute, details that put it 1 point above the other one, I guess is what I'm saying. So, so I mean, it's a great collection, I think, of some really great stories. Most of these people, I mean, everyone in the anthology itself have never been published, which is huge to me. I feel like that's a big, big thing to me personally, like to be able to get these names out there, yourself included, where, yeah, I mean, there's so many, it's such a, I don't know. I mean, I'm a writer myself. I have, stories out there and books, and I feel like it's just, you really get lost in the shuffle. It's really easy to get lost in the shuffle. There are some great stories that are lost because whatever that algorithm is that lets people be a bestseller is really hard to do. I don't know. This is getting too deep, but You know what I mean? Like
I know, yeah, I do
it's
know what you mean.
like
Yeah,
these days it's like how good of a bestseller you have is based on how well you can do TikTok and how well you can, you
the
know,
platform you have to leap
yeah, yeah,
from,
yeah.
what they're after.
Yeah. Like Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover is a best-selling author right now, you know, New York Times best-selling author. She has six, I think, books, 5 or 6 books that are all bestsellers, and she's just a very good. I mean, her stories are great, but she's a very good, you know, with social media and kind of marketing and all that stuff. And I think that's a huge part of it. So I feel personally, I feel like there's a lot of stories out there that could be told, you know, without having that access to that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, I assume it varies. I think maybe it comes down to getting the right representation,
yeah,
right? I mean, that you can have very little social media reach, but if you get the right agent, that's something that they can sort of help
yeah,
uh, take over the thing for them, and there's still the opportunity and stuff. But I think it's great that you've got this compilation sort of going because, like, yeah, I've never been published, not physical book. I mean, I have had some printed of other stories I've written
hmm
just to hold them that have been given to me as a gift. Um, but other than that, like this is
yeah.
fucking pumped. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, and I feel also, you know, I feel like a kind of a pressure. It's a good pressure, but like a pressure to make sure that this is the best, you know, to represent these writers and everyone together in the best that I can do. You know, I have the cover is pretty much done, and I love it. It's going to blow people away, I think, and if I must say
Oh
so
wow,
myself.
okay.
But you know, so I'm putting all everything I have into this, and I think that it's going to be definitely a big thing. Again, I'm turning this into a commercial. What's my deal?
I mean, it's a short podcast, man. Just go for it. Advertise anything you want. Do you have any short stories coming out? Like,
Oh,
let's talk about
yeah.
you.
It's funny you say that because it's like you said, you have this whole collection of short stories. I'm the same way where sometimes I tell myself, why don't I just put it into a book? You know, put it into one book and then there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love short stories. I think they're great. They're so great because they're like something. Even anthologies on TV, you know, like Black Mirror and Love, Death and Robots. Uh,
Oh, did you see Black Summer season 2?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, that was some of the best zombie anthology thing I've ever seen. I've loved the way that was put together. That was a really
Yes.
cool show.
It's
I
funny
was
you
very
say that. I've
impressed.
heard
Yeah.
other people said they didn't like it, but I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's crazy to me. I thought it was phenomenal. Yeah, yeah, way better than the first season.
Yeah. I don't know. I just love that stuff. I love there's even a show on Netflix. I don't know if you get it there, called 2 Minute Horror Stories or something. Or no, 2 Sentence Horror Stories. Maybe that's what it's called. Ba-
Oh,
Basically,
no, huh?
it's like 2 sentences. They play it at the beginning. They show one sentence and then they play the little short. It's like 10-minute little short, and then they'll play the second sentence. I think that's how they do. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's really, really,
Yeah.
really great. You know, I feel like if you can put uh, such a powerful message in 2 sentences, you know, like the smaller the better. It's just I don't know. I really love
I
it
mean,
stuff.
that's talent. Yeah, that's talent right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. There's this thing called okay. Again, I'm drawing a blank, but there's this thing where man, what's it called? It's something like I want to say doodles, but it's something like that, like a little word like that, where basically it's 100 words, and you write a story in a
Oh,
hundred words.
Drabble.
Yes, yes, that's it.
Oh
A-
yeah.
Yeah, and so this is 100 words. You get your point across, and oh, I love those things. So
They
great.
have that. So I'm from Leicester in the UK,
Hmm.
and they have the Leicester's Writers Club, which I was fortunate enough to join. I've done nothing but improve my writing tenfold. The people there are fantastic. Love them all. But they every year they do like you basically it's where you guess who's written what. So you can you hand in I think it's like 100 words, hand it in anonymously, and then everyone sort of sits around. They read it out, and then you kind of have to guess who wrote what, and then people end up imitating each other's styles and to like throw other people off. And I always found that like so much fun to do. I'm really
Oh
bad at
wow.
it. There's one guy, Yev, who is extremely good and manages to win every single year somehow. But other than that, I'm crap at it. But I just remember being quite flat because the novel I was writing was a sort of very grim horror western, and so I was using a lot of like ain't and and very McCarthyisms, very archaic. And when we were doing it, and people were imitating, I think 2 or 3 people imitated my work, and I just remember being so flattered, but also really annoyed because then I couldn't like write in my style because they'd already done it.
Oh yeah, that sounds like fun actually.
Really good fun. It is really good. It's worth doing. Like if you've got writer friends, like it's just a game, I guess. 100 words.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I can't believe it's already been a half hour. This has been a lot of fun.
Goodness, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just really appreciate you coming on, and I'm always up for talking about not only inspirations but just the media itself, like current stuff, and what's going on in post-apocalyptic media. I mean, it's all that's why I'm here. It's just a lot of fun.
I have to say, I enjoyed your podcast. I think what the episode I listened to when you the Kevin Costner thing, and I just want to say thank you for being one of the few people that will admit The Waterworld is a fucking great film, and I don't care what anyone says. I think it is absolutely phenomenal. I think the effects, the practicals, just the world building, it's great. It's great.
Thank you. Thank you for being the other person in the world who recognizes.
It's not our fault. We get it,
Yeah.
1995 was a year to be alive.
Yeah, that was a fun episode. The beginning with the AI speaking in his voice.
Freaked me out, yeah, because I was like, how has he managed this? Did you pay him? And then obviously, the AI thing came forward. Be careful with those AIs, though. I mean, they're gonna push us writers out, and agents are gonna be signing on people that have used a AI prompt to write an entire outline for their novel, and then probably write most of it for them as well.
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
I actually just it's funny you say this. I'm gonna plug something again here. I wrote a book called AI for All, and it just came out last week. But it's it's basically, well, it's like you're saying. I mean, I understand, and I talk about in the book, the dangers of AI and the ethics of AI, of using AI, and how to kind of navigate that correctly, I guess. Where sure, you could sit there and have ChatGPT write you an entire novel, but it's going to be absolute crap. It's going to be really, really bad. And what I use it for in the book, and I was kind of showing that you can use it in this book, is to write an outline of topics, and from there I took it. I added. I mean, I doubled the topics from there, and I changed a lot of them. So I used. I think I said this on the last podcast. I think I used like maybe 10-15% of the book was really aided by AI, and the rest was me.
Okay, yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot you could. There's a lot of ways you can use AI, for the good, but people want to jump immediately to having it do things for them. I'm a painter and I love painting, and I will use AI sometimes for a reference. People have used reference, Leonardo used reference, and, people have used references for 1,000 years for paintings and stuff like that. So for me, for the AI art side, I'll use it as a reference. And then for writing, it's kind of the same thing. The thing is, like, AI doesn't write current stuff. So if you're writing news, AI won't help you at all. But, and I'm just basically saying that I feel like there's a potential there. I feel like in the future we could use AI to help us, but I don't like when people...
I don't think it's AI. I don't think it's the AI that's the problem. It's the people that apply it in that way.
Yeah.
The tool is. I mean, we were speaking about a D&D campaign he was going to do, and I think someone used like we started using ChatGPT to kind of like make characters and stuff, and that was so useful because it gives you this. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word, but almost like an outline. And then you can sort of operate and around it and sort of change the details and stuff. So it can be useful. Like, and it's just, but I think it's the people that use it for evil.
Yeah,
they're the ones to watch out for.
Yeah, I belong to a couple Facebook groups with writing Facebook groups, and these are have nothing to do with AI. They're just general writing groups, and there are just an influx of people coming in saying, "How do you write a book with AI?" And of course, everyone is like, "Get out of here!" Don't talk to us. But like you said, it's the people who wanted to do it for them. They want to write a book completely AI, and it we're not at that point. I think scarily enough, we might be to that point at some point, someday. But I don't know. I'm fascinated by AI. I love the topic. I think I'm any kind of new technology I'm absolutely in love with. But I feel like AI, this is a moment right now. We're kind of the Wild West of AI.
Yeah. It's, we went from deep fakes to this.
Yeah,
Like, the progress has been scary.
Yeah. I just feel like it's an important time. I mean, even when the creator of ChatGPT and OpenAI is saying we need regulation, that's, listen to this guy, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could sit and talk about AI all day. I absolutely love it. I think it's fascinating, but at the same time, I understand its dangers. I understand how it could be really, really bad. And yeah, I just hope people, and it's kind of why I wrote the book. It's kind of like, I hope people understand how to use it correctly. But do I know how to use it correctly? Not 100%, because it's just starting out. It's such a new thing. So.
Yeah, early doors.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I could go on forever with that. But I want to thank you for coming on. This is a lot of fun. And now I find out you're a D&D player. I think we might be best friends. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love D&D. But yeah, I'm down to chat anytime. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I will probably be back next week. Lee may be coming back next week, but I'm not sure. As I usually do with this show, I just play it by ear. We'll see how it goes. But again, thanks everyone for listening, and make sure you check out the website, post-apocalyptic.com. We have all of our social media on there, all of our goodies. You can join our Discord and talk to us on there anytime. And yeah, thanks again for listening, and stay alive out there and always be ready for the big one. Bye-bye.